Hey, fearless friends, it's Amy Schmidt, and I am so excited to be back on the air with a podcast for you as we fearlessly face 50 and beyond. And we also face all of those F words. You know them, like friendship and finances and fitness and focus, all of these things that we face, and we are going to take them on with confidence. Today's guest is Jane Costello. She's a best-selling novelist in the UK. Her first book, Bridesmaids, published in 2008, sold more than 1 million copies. In 2018, she published You, Me, Everything under Catherine Isaac. It was translated into 25 languages, and actually movie rights were sold to Lionsgate and Temple Hill. She was born in Liverpool, England, and currently lives there with her husband, Mark, and 3 sons. And today we are digging into her newest novel, It's Getting Hot in Here. It's going to be a good one, so stay tuned. Hey, fearless friends. Well, as you heard in the intro, I'm excited about this interview today. I mean, one, I love authors. I love them. And I always like to hear a little bit about the story behind the book, behind the brand. So Jane Costello, welcome to the show. And I have here, for those that are watching, you can see a cover of this. It's Getting Hot in Here. And it is just, I love it. I love it. And if you are listening with your earbuds in, I will have links for where you can order this book. So today we're chatting with the author, and welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of did this last minute. We were like, all right, we're going to do this because Jane's about to go on her tour and she's going all over the US. So how fun is that?
Oh, I'm so excited. You know, I've been writing for 20 years. I've written 15 novels, and, you know, they've been in lots of other countries in the world, and, you know, they're translated into lots of languages and things, but this is the first time I've toured in North America. So I am super excited.
I love that. I love that. So let's
it's
talk
only
about.
taken me 20 years to get here.
I was going to say 20 years. I mean, you're 35. I mean, starting at 15 was really.
I wish.
I know. I think it's amazing. So writing for me is very therapeutic. It's very like when I'm having a really bad day, I think my 3 grown kids and my husband would say, "Mom, just go write something. Like, just go journal, go write something, and then come back into the room because you're going to be in a lot better mood." Is it like that for you?
No, it isn't. I'll be honest with you. It really isn't. I think the difference is, actually, that's not true. It can be. It absolutely can be. But there's a difference. When you start sort of writing for a living, you have deadlines. You know, you have you're juggling a few things. And I think the more books you write, the higher you set the bar, definitely. Mm-hmm. So you're always sort of pushing yourself. And I think the most enjoyable book to write is your first one, because there's no expectations, you know, doesn't matter if it doesn't work. Whereas with the ones that come afterwards, you know, you want it to be better than the last one. You know, you want to be constantly improving. And, you know, some books, I've had it all ways, to be honest. I've had some books that have just flown and it's been the most lovely, wonderful experience writing it. And I've had other books that have been incredibly like knitting with spaghetti. You know, they've got plot points that just, you know, are really difficult to work through. And the fact is, you want to make your book as good as possible. It doesn't matter how difficult it is for you. Right. You just want the reader to be reading it and thinking, this is lovely. I'm having a great time, you know.
Exactly.
So yeah, I've had it both ways. Totally had it both ways.
I love that you're so transparent about that. Before we talk about the book, I love that. And the transparency about, you know, some days there's writer's block. It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah, do you know, I never tend to get actual writers, but I'm never short of ideas. If anything, I have too many ideas.
What are you doing? Jotting them down on sticky notes or something?
Oh, thank God for notes on your my iPhone is like you don't even want to see it.
I love it. Mine could be a book.
It's exactly.
It's crazy.
They're brilliant.
It's crazy.
But before then, it was always I'd carry a notebook around with me, the old fashioned way. But yeah, I come up with so many ideas in the middle of the night or whatever. And so no, it's never writer's block. It's just trying to make the ideas that you've got make sense,
Yeah.
and make sense in a way that fits in with what you've written before, and that is going to really kind of push the right buttons with when a reader is turning the pages. That's what I'm going for every time. I want readers to absolutely adore spending time with my characters.
Right.
And so it doesn't just happen. You've got to put a lot of thought into it. And
There's nothing better than a good book when you just get lost in it. And there is something about that when you just get lost in it. You're lost in the characters. You just something resonates in such a way. And just I love that. I love that. So if we were to ask, friends of Jane's at 10 and 12 years old back in like middle school days, did they think you'd be a writer?
That's interesting. I never myself ever thought I would go on to be a writer, for the simple reason. I mean, I loved writing stories. I wrote stories about little animals and, all kinds of cute things that kids do. But I never, ever, it never occurred to me I could be a writer. Nobody in my family had been to university. I didn't come from a family that, had people published, or, I just thought, to me, it felt, even when I was sort of in my 20s, as fanciful an idea as saying, oh, well, I want to be a rock star, or, it was the kind of thing. Being an author just wasn't really, something that happened to people like me. And I think I sort of made the assumption that even though I loved books, I loved reading, I was always a big bookworm, I kind of made the assumption that you were just born a writer, and it was something that happened to you, rather than something you could work on or learn and become really good at, simply through through sheer hard graft and channeling your imagination. Yep. And it was only when I was on maternity leave that I actually cracked it, really, which was 20 years ago.
Wow. Isn't that amazing?
And yeah, well, it is. Yeah, exactly. Well, and before then, honestly, I tried multiple times to write books, and I'd sort of, I'd managed to do a chapter and then think, God, where's it going now? And was thoroughly unimpressed with what I'd created, and thought, well, this is not as good as anything I'm reading, So I'd given up on multiple occasions, but then just kept trying. And yeah, it finally happened when I was on maternity leave with my first baby. And that kind of, I don't even know how I did it now, because, I mean, it's not that easy when you've got a newborn in the house, is it? But actually, I just spent like an hour or two when he was going down for his naps. That was my little time. And that, you talk about you enjoying writing. That was how it felt with my first novel.
Right.
It was like my time. And eventually that book was published, to my utter astonishment. And to be honest, that was only ever, the idea even of having a book published felt ridiculous. When it happened, it was all my dreams come true. And it went on to become a big bestseller in the UK and various other countries in the world. All of that massively surpassed my expectations.
Isn't that amazing?
And continues to do so,
I think that's amazing. That gave me goosebumps. Just that story. You committed to it, and we're all works in progress. I talk about the fact that, we have to embrace lifetime learning. We have to embrace being a novice again. And, just dedicate that little bit of time when your son was napping, put pen to paper, fingers to keyboard, whatever it is that works for you. And it happened. And I think that's amazing. I love your transparency. I think it's fabulous. Let's talk about this book. It's getting hot in here. I mean, the cover alone. And I just think it's awesome. So take me to that moment. I want to go back to that moment in time when you said, this is what I'm going to write. And this is how the title came to be, how the whole story, how everything. I want to hear it.
Okay, so the first 9 books that I wrote were all romantic comedy, and I wrote them under my name, Jane Costello. And then I sort of got to my early 40s, and all of those early rom-coms had been, women in their 20s finding Mr. Right for the first time in various amusing and entertaining ways. But as I got older, I thought, gosh, this age gap was widening between me and my heroines. And I sort of thought, I'm not entirely sure this works anymore. So I made the decision to move away from romantic comedy and started writing sort of emotional love stories under the name Catherine Isaac. And I wrote 5 of those. You, Me, Everything is probably the best known of those. And I wrote those for a while, but I got to my late 40s and I'd been to lots of book events, particularly in the UK, and people would be coming up to me and saying, when are you going to write another rom-com? We love the humour. We love people just like to sometimes read something that they are, that's really going to uplift them, I suppose. Yes. And I got that all the time. And I dismissed the idea, I didn't want to go backwards. And then I sort of found myself kicking around and thinking, I would really love to read a funny, smart, entertaining rom-com that featured a woman, not who was, 20, 30 years younger than me, but actually my age, which, late 40s, who's going through all the things that I was going through at the time, perimenopause, raising teenagers. Lisa, who is the main character in It's Getting Hot in Here, she's twice divorced. So I haven't been divorced twice, but I have been once. So I know what it's like to be a single mom. She's got this massive juggle on her hands of, she's working. She's got all this stuff going on with the kids. She's trying to do her bit for the PTA. All of that. It's just
relatable. Check. Yeah,
she's got this to-do list that is 5 miles long, and that I just thought, I need to. I'm the one to write this book. I've written all these rom-coms, but now I've hit this age, and I want to write a rom-com that is for me. And I think of all the books I've ever written, this was, we talked about some of them being really difficult. This was just an absolute joy to write from beginning to end.
I love it.
It was so enjoyable. Just so much material in being, in your late 40s.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. And and the result is It's Getting Hot in Here, which is about, like I say, 47-year-old mom of 2. She's twice divorced. She's got this messy past. She's juggling all these, and basically she has, when we meet her at the start of the book, she's supporting her best friend through breast cancer treatment. And into her best friend's job at work, this guy called Zach Russo has swept in and basically caused some long forgotten stirrings that she assumed she was well past, and was more than happy to see the back of. But it just opens up this whole new chapter in her life. And
so
it was just enormous fun to write.
Yeah, that's so I could see it being a movie.
Oh, well, that would be nice.
Wouldn't that would be fabulous? Yep. And I bet everybody that picks up a copy, I'll have the link to where to order it. I love it, and I think there's so many stories out there for women. I always say you hold the pen to your autobiography and you know what, you can edit it often, but write your story. It doesn't have to be a bestseller. It doesn't have to be a book. It can just be write down your stories, because we are really storytellers. I think women are wonderful storytellers. And I love that this book brought you joy, to create. And so when you wrote that last paragraph of that last chapter and finished the last page, take me to that feeling. What's it like?
Don't read the end, but when you do, it's the final line was very satisfying. Really? Put it that way. Yeah. That's all I'll say. For anybody who hasn't read it yet, no spoilers.
I love it.
The final line, very, very, very satisfying on lots of levels.
So exciting. So Jane, for people that are listening or watching today and are aspiring authors, They
Yeah.
they maybe put it off. They put it on the back burner. They've been raising their kids. Or if there's somebody out there that's saying, I'll do it next year. Those famous words, I'll do it next year when I'm 10 pounds slimmer, or when I've got more money, or when I've got more time. And that never happens, right? I mean, I've been trying to lose 10 pounds for, 40 years.
Oh, yeah. We all have.
Yes.
I think we all have.
But
Yeah.
we do that. So if there's somebody listening today that heard your voice and is going to read your book, or have read your past books and said, you know what, I think I want to do this author thing. I think I want to try it. Can you give me 2 things that they could do today, tangible takeaways for them, how they could start that creative process?
Oh, I could give you about 20 things, but I'll try and keep it to 2.
2 stuff.
First one, the first and fundamental one, you need to think of your big idea, right? And that you don't have to sit down at a computer or anything. Just do it when you're doing, I don't know, on the school run or whatever, or when you're, I don't know, walking the dog. You think of your big idea, and it all stems from there. If you've hit on something that's original, that speaks to you, that you think, actually, this is a subject I really want to write on, you're really halfway there. You've got to have the idea in the first place. The next thing that I did before I actually wrote my first one, and everyone does this differently. Other authors will tell you something completely different. We've all got our own way, but I plotted out, my rough skeleton of what was going to happen, so that when writer's block was threatening to hit, actually, I thought, right, well, I'm just going to push through, and I've got I know roughly where I'm going, and I just need to force myself through it. And it is an exercise in sticking with it. It's like it's a marathon, not a sprint, you know. So yeah, it's one step in front of the other. And eventually, if you do that long enough, one word in front of the other, you'll eventually have a novel.
I think that's so important, because it is, and it's a commitment. You make a commitment to start something and finish it. And some days might not be the best days, but you know what? You still try and you commit to it, and it's a job. It truly is. So that's great advice. I love that. And I hope that it sparks some interest, because I know there's a lot of aspiring authors out there with wonderful stories to tell. And sometimes they just get stuck in fear or procrastination or perfectionism.
Yeah.
So throw that all aside, because we're all too old for that anyway. But I love that advice. Thank you. And before we leave today, now I'll be linking how to get the book. I'll also link, I don't exactly know what date this will be dropping, but I will put in there your tour, especially in the US, because you're touring all over the place. And I am not far from Tampa right now. So I just think we might need to connect. I'm going to have to figure that one out.
Absolutely. That would be amazing.
And it should be warm in Tampa. But I mean, this is kind of my
I'm hoping so.
Yeah, I'm Northeast girl and Midwest girl, and in Florida for my second, winter. And wow, it's cold today. Like, it's cold. And I'm a girl that's very used to cold, but I'm like, wow, this is not Florida weather. So I hope by the time you get to Tampa, it's nice and warm and sunny.
That would be nice.
Before we leave today, I want to ask you the question I ask on every episode. And I'm always excited to hear what people will say. So Jane, if you were sitting on the couch and you look over and there you see Jane at 30, what advice would you give her?
Oh, that's so good. Relax a bit more. Try and relax a bit more and stop worrying so much.
Like that.
I would say things are going to work out okay.
Yes. Isn't that true? Yeah. Everything's figureoutable. Yeah. Good advice, Jane. I love it. Thank you for your time today, your flexibility and your patience behind the mic. You never know what happens with tech stuff. We roll with it.
Absolutely. We got there.
Thanks so much. Safe travels to you, and congratulations on It's Getting Hot in Here. Everybody check it out.